Good afternoon, dear participants, coordinators, and respected faculty members. A very warm welcome to our eminent speaker, Dr. Ajay Agrawal, at Department of EC, Amity School of Engineering and Technology, Amity University, Rajasthan. Amity University Rajasthan is a learning education provider in India with 29 campuses across India and offer 250 programs. It has more than 4,000 faculties and 95,000 students study in various disciplines from the school to postdoctorate level. Amity campus spread across the nation, international locations such as London, New York, Dubai, and many more. Amity has credited prestigious national and international recognition and accreditation. Amity has distinguished academicians who have filed over 304 patents, 250 books, and more than 3,000 publications in various reputed journals. Amity is one of the best institutes in India and always approaches good academicians and researchers. And here, one of the such esteemed and renowned personality is with us today to impart his knowledge and to enlighten us. Dr. Ajay Agrawal is Senior Principal Scientist, Coordinator, and Head of the Nano Biosensor Group at CSIR Planning. He is also involved in development of nanotechnology, MEMS, microfluids, microsensor. He is also professor at Academic Scientific and Innovative Research, New Delhi. He is also technical staff in Singapore over 9 years. He received his BE MS from NIT Rourkela and PhD from BITS Planning. He also engaged with various industries, research industries over 26 years. He has 230 research publications in reputed journal and conference and 25 patents granted. He also supervised many students in PhD, masters and UG level. He earned various awards which includes a National Award 2008 at Singapore, Excellent Award in 2009, and Best Kaizen 7 times at Usha Limited, India. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Ajay Agrawal to deliver his session on technology work exploring today. Now, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Madam, for the kind introduction. I also want to thank all the staff and the organizers at MIT University Jaipur for giving me this opportunity to share my views on the technologies which are worth exploring today. So that's why I have chosen a topic which is relevant for we all technologists. And we all, many times our young researchers want to know which topic, which area they should go for research. So that is very, very important topic for many young researchers basically. So the agenda of the talk will be how to select a research problem, and we'll then go into a bit of details on sustainable development goals, what these are and how they help us, and TIFAC vision for India, Indian growth, and technology. Then we'll go into somewhat deeper into the environment care related technologies, and then healthcare related technologies, and somewhat on point of care diagnostics, elements of sensors, and some platform devices which I have been and my team has been working on. So I'll give you a glimpse of those devices which can be used for many, many applications, and then I'll conclude. So this is a brief agenda of the talk. So as the topic also suggests, how should we select a research problem? So for selecting a research problem, it should be based on the need. So need, how to decide the need? There are some sustainable development goals which are decided by the UN members in 2015. And these goals have been decided by all the members. All the members of this one have agreed that there is a need to end poverty, protect planet, ensure peace, and prosperity. And these goals are for 15 years. So in 15 years, all this need to be achieved for the entire globe, for all the countries. So based on that, some goals are decided. So we'll discuss on those goals. And from there, the need will emerge. Similarly, there is a document which has been developed by a TIFAC. This is a government organization in India. And they have also given a document in 2015 with a vision 2035. So these goals are for 20 years. So the goals set by TIFAC for ourselves, for our own country, these are for 20 years goal. Based on these goals, last year when the COVID pandemic came in, and there was a white paper issue, which is a subset of this vision document, and which gives a priority of some of the topics which need to be explored immediately, and these are the priority topics. So this gives a need-based requirement for anyone to work out. So these are the global goals, and the TIFAC goals are specifically for the India. So first thing is a need. Then we have to see what is the expertise available around us. So within our institution, within our approach. So based on the expertise, we have to decide a problem and then we have to attack it. And third thing comes resources. So resources are two types of resources. One is a technical resource, which comes in the expertise also. But other resources are also required, like the labs and the money and all those things. So depending on what kind of resources we have to choose a bigger problem or a smaller problem within the needs. So if we are taking a problem from the needs for the country, it will be getting funds from different funding agencies also. So it is always important to choose a problem which is a real problem for our own country. So let's go to the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. So if you see, these are the 17 goals. So I'm writing them here also on the right hand side. These are the 17 goals which are accepted by all UN members, that these are important for the growth of the all the countries as a whole. Among these, I'm pinpointing some of these requirements or the goals which are directly related to the engineers, basically, or the scientists, engineers, basically. So it covers all academicians, science and engineering fellows. So good health and well-being. So this is one of the topmost priority among these. Next is clean water and sanitation. So again, clean water and sanitation is an area where we engineers, along with our science fellows, can contribute an important part. Affordable and clean energy. Industry, innovation and infrastructure. So this is sometimes very popularly known as Industry 4.0 also. And these are the areas where we can definitely contribute. Another, the number 11, which is sustainable cities and community. This topic means we are looking for smart cities, what simply we say in India, smart city. That means cities are sustainable of their own. They are not dependent on outside world or minimum dependence on outside world for most of the requirements. These requirements are also like the energy disposal and other things. So we have to go in that direction when a city is called sustainable city or the community. And if you see in the bottom, the 13 to 15, these are climate action, life below water, so marine life and life on land. So these are again areas which are again interdisciplinary. Most of these topics are highly interdisciplinary. And these are the areas where a lot of contribution is required from engineers and scientists. Similarly, there is a document, as I mentioned earlier, from the TIFAC. So this is a government institution in India, and they have come out with similarly 12 goals. And the topics I have written in red are pertaining to, again, our community, and they are same as they have been indicated in the other one. So there are some other topics also which are also related to different knowledge backgrounds. So let's focus on the red ones. So these are directly related to scientists and engineers. And based on these 12, after this COVID-19, which has struck in last March, and it's more than a year. So May 2020, these 5 goals have been decided as the first priority. So medical and health. So we'll all agree that medical needs and the health related needs have come on the first priority everywhere, and that is the first priority for the country like India also. The second top priority is machinery and manufacturing. So government is also pushing in-house manufacturing, Atmanirbhar Bharat. So this coming building different factories and manufacturing facilities, that is a priority of the country, and we have to see where we can contribute. ICT, information technology, is definitely playing an important role, and we are discussing today because of this development in ICT technologies. Now, as we were discussing some time back, 3 semesters have passed because of these online classes. Otherwise, if we have been in some 90s, late 90s or so, no classes would have been there in last 3 semesters. Another important topic is electronics. So electronics has come in the highest, one of the highest priority items of the government now. And government is pushing this electronic sector, not only software part or design part, now is the hardware part also. So hardware part means design, realizing of those design chip into devices, packaging of these, making equipments, and gadgets, electronic gadgets. So that has come a priority. So any contribution in this area is important, and that is relevant for our country. Agriculture and food processing has been a very important area, and still it is important for us. So these 5 topics are the highest important or highest priority areas for India for last 1 year. So anything, any opportunity or any effort in this area will be welcomed by all quarters of the government and the people. So among these topics, we'll discuss more on healthcare and environmental care innovations and activities in this area for today, because it's not possible to discuss all the topics in detail. So let's see what are the technological innovations for the environment care which have come up in last few years. These are the worldwide. So number 1 is public electric transport. So I think you all will appreciate that electric cars, electric scooters, electric buses, so that has taken a top priority. So it's not the public transport. Now the second priority has come electric trucks also. So trucks means all big vehicles for transporting goods. So they are coming on electricity. So when all the vehicles are moving towards electricity, there is a big need of energy storage and so batteries. So cheap energy storage has become an important, very, very important aspect because of the top 2 things. And when we are looking for cheap energy storage, we are also looking for long-term storage, because we don't want to charge our vehicle every few hours. So at least it should run for a day or 2 days, or if more, it is always welcome. So long-term storage is important. So these were related to the first 4 things are correlated to each other. So energy anyway is required for many other applications, but for transport purpose, these are very, very important aspects. Plastic recycling has been a major problem worldwide, and it's related to environmental pollution also. And there is a huge need, still a huge need to recycle plastic. And if you see, only 16% worldwide is being recycled at this moment. So if we can look for different technologies and different usage of this plastic, which is a recycled plastic, that is always welcome. And that's a big area of research or requirement. LEDs have come up, and they have come up in a big way in our country also. There is a need further to enhance the efficiency of these LEDs so that more light can come from less number of bulbs, and the cost also need to be reduced further. Solar power. So this part, the use of solar power in different aspects has increased tremendously, but still there is ample scope to increase the access of solar power as a energy source in terms of electricity, heat energy, and light energy, whatever it is. Another big area to protect our environment is carbon capture and storage. So we all know that carbon, that is carbon dioxide, is increasing in the air. So there are a lot of research activities and pilot projects are going on to capture this carbon and store it somewhere. So the storage of this one is typically done underground in the open wells. And so the technologies are being developed to capture carbon dioxide from the air, compress it, and then push it under the ground so that we can reduce this carbon content of the atmosphere. So this type of activities have taken among the top few technologies or innovations for the environmental protection. And ninth one here, which is the last one in this list, is hydrogen in energy transmission. So instead of carbon-based energy or our petroleum products, hydrogen is being looked as an important source of energy. And you might have come across that hydrogen cells and the water-based energy utilization is increasing. So if you can split water, hydrogen and oxygen is produced. So oxygen goes in the air, no issue. We want more oxygen. And today we are struggling for oxygen. If the other part, the hydrogen is used as a fuel. So there's no wastage. There is no byproduct which is pollution or pollutant for the environment. So water is one of the best source of energy today for protection of the environment point of view also. Now let's see top 10 healthcare innovations which have come up. Many of these are more related to the biology, and we will not discuss much in detail those topics. But first here is sequencing. And this is related to the DNA sequencing, and it is targeted for the therapies or for the treatment purpose. So if you know the DNA sequencing or DNA changes or the mutations, like we have been hearing that mutate coronavirus, double mutant, all those things. So that means the genes change. And that is very, very important for their treatment also, the problems coming out because of those mutations. 3D printed devices have become a very, very important technologies for healthcare sector. See, many of the times we are looking for artificial limb or artificial foot, and these are all customized product for everyone. And if you make them using the low cost technologies and high precision and very customized one, so 3D printed these limbs and some other gadgets for this type of needs for different patients are very, very important, and they have captured a very, very important place in the innovation list for healthcare. Immunotherapy is another aspect of treatment, and this is related to chemotherapy. We are not going in detail. Artificial intelligence is another big area. The AI, we electronics and computer scientists or engineers, we have a big role here to understand and give solutions related to the healthcare, and many solutions which were not possible yesterday. Now, because of these artificial algorithms, it is possible to predict or give solutions. So artificial intelligence is an important aspect. Another one is point of care diagnostics. So diagnostics is required, but point of care. Wherever there is a problem, we want a care to be done. And for that purpose, we'll discuss in detail in next few slides what are the gadgets and how. And today we understand what is the importance of this one. See, there are no beds. Patients are there for the COVID patients, and we have to provide care for those patients at home only, or wherever the patient is. So point of care. So we want a diagnostic, means you have to test them for what is the condition, and then you treat also accordingly. So that has become a very important aspect today. And what are the gadgets here? And when we say point of care, so there are different scenarios. We'll discuss those things also. Now, other are virtual reality. Virtual reality is another aspect, which simulated environments which will accelerate behavior change in patient that is safer or more convenient. Or so using these techniques of virtual reality, the simulated environment can predict the behavior or the changes we are providing to the patients. Social media is also playing an important role in healthcare at this moment. And biosensors and trackers, so we know that biosensors, the importance of biosensors today, and trackers are also important. We wanted to track these patients. We want to track many things. These sensors need to be in the cloth or on the body, and so that way importance is increasing for the biosensors and the trackers. Convenient care, we are looking for a lot of convenience in the care, so low cost care, and that is buzzword for a lot of different kind of care which can be provided. Telehealth is another thing which we have seen in last 1 year, how important it is telehealth. We have to consult our doctors on phone only, sitting in front of camera, and that is how we are able to see the importance of telehealth. So these were some of the areas. So 2 topics I have highlighted here, the biosensors and point of care. We'll discuss more on that one in this area. So let's see point of care diagnostics, so what it is and what are the scenarios there. Before we go to the scenarios, these are some of the gadgets. We all know these are all point of care gadgets. Glucose testing, we all know. So almost a huge amount of, say, 7 to 8 crore people in India are diabetic, and they have, all these homes have some glucometer like this, a small glucometer, and some strip, and we can do testing at home, and we need not go to a doctor every day or a clinic. But whenever there is a big change in the numbers whichever prescribed for us, we have to consult them. Similarly, urine analysis and so many other things. These are all done using point of care testing gadgets. These are all small gadgets. Pregnancy test and other tests. There are so many things which are being used today as a point of care gadgets, which were not possible some time back. And this list is increasing every day. Okay. Now let's see. These are the 5 different point of care scenarios. The first one is at home. So we know that we want to test our glucose or some other like today we want to check our oxygen saturation level also. We want to check it that it is between 94 to 100. So if you suspect, check it at home. You need not go to a doctor or physician. So that is the one scenario you want to test at home, and if it is beyond a limit, the safe limit, consult a doctor. Another scenario is a community-based. So point of care system required in the community. The case is, see, we are in a huge country, and 70% of our population is rural sector, and hospitals are not there. So we put up a camp in a society or in a village, do a primary testing there for some disease. So village or workers or in a factory or in a factory environment, test them. And if you see some of the suspects for that particular disease or that condition, then refer those to a doctor for proper checkup and treatment. So that's the second case where this point of care, which is a low cost and quick solution devices are required. Another is health post or outpatient. So see, these gadgets are on doctor's table. It's not a common practice in India, but in many developed countries, doctors have these gadgets, many of these gadgets on their table. And like they test in India, the BP and temperature, they do some testing of blood, urine, all those things on the spot there only. And based on those analysis of the result, they prescribe the medicine. So that's the third scenario. Fourth is peripheral labs. So labs also have all these point of care. So they have these testing facilities. And nowadays, if you go to these labs, you are also looking for the results to be given quickly, so within few minutes or few tens of minutes. So point of care devices are also being used in the labs to get these results or analysis done quickly. And the final fifth scenario is on the bedside. So point of care, so your bed is there and some gadgets are lying on the side of it. Patient cannot go to the lab every time, and whatever need to be monitored or tested twice a day or once in 2 days or 5 times a day, whatever it is a need, the testing will be done on the bedside only. So these are the 5 different scenarios where point of care devices find applications. And what all to be tested? This is a huge list, and list is increasing every day. So this is the need for point of care devices. Now, for any such device, there is a sensor, right? Which is called biosensor because it is related to some biological event or biological species. So these are the elements of a biosensor. It's quite busy. Don't worry. I'll simply explain. So let's see this leftmost. These are the samples, right? So when we do analysis, what we test, we take some cells. Like today we are doing in COVID. Swab goes in the nose or in the throat, and they rub it there. So they rub it there. That means they are taking some cells. So they take out some cells, and then this is a sample. So these cells need to be analyzed further to understand what is there in these cells. Another samples, what are the other samples? Blood, urine, saliva. So these are the common samples, right? So these are some biosamples. Some other samples are like for the food samples. We also know this during the festival time, the testing of food becomes a very, very important because of adulteration. So adulteration is one part for the food sampling. Another aspect is quality of the food. Quality of the food is another aspect. One is for the ready food, or if it is a cooked food, if the shelf life or the storage of the food is not done properly, the quality may deteriorate. So we want to test the quality of the food more often in a low cost manner And ideally, if I buy something, cooked food from the market, we buy a lot nowadays. So how do we ascertain that it is good or not? We open it, we try to smell it first. If it smells bad, that means it is gone. Something like food is stored in our fridge also. If it is lying there for 2 days, 3 days, it may be okay. But if it is lying for a longer time, or somehow the fridge, the power has gone in between, or it was not stored properly, something went wrong, it may go bad before the expected life of the that food to be thrown out. So how we do it is smell. But are there some sensors which can tell the quality? So there is a huge need of cheap personal sensors which can give us a good quality or bad quality of. Similarly, for environmental, these tests are quite often done, and we listen also in the news and newspapers and as in say, air quality, water quality, soil and vegetation. So all these things are considered as a sample for environmental samples or the food samples or our healthcare. So these are the samples. Now, in these samples, we are looking for some particular chemical or some element to be tested. Fine. So these need to be tested from these samples. Now, how to test it? These are the main transducer or the sensing elements. Say, for example, this is a fat-based device. So this is a thin channel or which is very sensitive, and there is a source and drain. You apply some potential, the current flows, and if any charge comes on the top of it, the current will change. If it is more sensitive, the best could be a single charge comes and there is a change. So from where the charge is coming? So most of these elements, what we are looking for, or molecules we want to test, these are charged particles. So if we can bind these charged particles specifically on this surface, we can detect even a single molecule, provided our sensing element is very, very sensitive. So we have to bind specifically. So these are the receptors. So these molecules we have to bind on the surface, and these molecules will in turn will bind the target molecules. Right? So we are looking for some target molecules here. We have these receptors already on our surface. We can bind this surface, these molecules on the surface. They will specifically bind to whatever they are designed for. So this is a part of a chemistry. So chemist knows what is the structure of a molecule you are interested. The biologists tell you which molecule they want to test. Chemist says, I can bind it very specifically. Chemist will also tell you how this molecule need to be bonded on your or fixed on the surface. So how you have to prepare the surface so that you can bind on one side on the surface, the other side is open for capturing of the target. Fine. So, and there could be various configurations or different kind of devices. We'll see these devices. Now, we are looking for a very few molecule or single molecule. So when such a small charge come on the surface, the change in the current is also very small. So you are looking for an amplifier. So you need a circuit which can amplify this change. Further, amplification is done. So with respect to the initial current and how much is the change, and signal processing is required. And then is the output which need to be displayed in terms of these target molecules. So there is a display, there is a conversion of that data, there is an AI here. Fine. So AI also plays an important role in data analysis and processing. So this entire device is highly interdisciplinary knowledge based, and a lot of different knowledges or field of knowledge is required to realize any of such gadgets. Right? So we all have a role in realization of this device. So we have to understand each other's language, each other's capability and limitations. Then only such a device can be released. Typically, these are the 4 different kind of signals we are capturing from the analyte or the target. Charge I told. So there is a charge which is on the target molecule which is being detected. Other thing is when the molecule come on the surface, there is a current produced in the system, and that current can be measured also. Example for this current is our glucometer, a glucose measurement. So when we put a blood on that small strip and put it in the system, there is a small current produced. So depending on how much current produced, because there is some chemical already on the strip, and that reacts with the glucose of our blood and produces some current, and that current is then converted into a glucose number. So that is a kind of amperometric transducer. Optical, we know that when a sample comes on the surface, there is a change in the color. There is a red line coming, some green line coming, or some color change happens. So those are all optical, and there are some versions and different kind of optical signals are there, and those are all called optical transducers. And similarly, there is another class which is called acoustic transducers. So these are piezo-crystal based devices, and when specifically a target molecule is captured on the surface, there is a change in the frequency, and that frequency of the device is recorded, and that is how. So all these molecules are detected indirectly. We are not seeing the molecule, but some of the property of the molecule and how specifically we made the entire system, that gives the entire selectivity of the target molecule. These are 2 cartoons. So this one is this is a small chip. You put your sample, put in inside the gadget. So there will be some reaction happening, and there is a optical change. So there is photo detectors inside, and there should be some display. And what you are looking, sometimes you want that the output should go to your mobile phone. So it can go to your mobile phone also through Bluetooth, or it can go to from your phone, it can go to doctor's phone also, or it can directly go to through Wi-Fi. It can go to the doctor's table or some control system. So this kind of data transmission, data processing, and further transmission is also required in these point-of-care devices. So these are called IoT-enabled systems. Similarly, this is optical. There could be electrical change when the sample is put on, and that electrical change should do some analysis here, or maybe on the system. So the data is only transferred, and then processing happens in the system, or processing may happen here. So depending on whatever configuration we do, there are different possibilities. And again, I'd say that IoT is also playing an important role in these point-of-care devices. Now let's see quickly some another 5-10 minutes. What are some platform devices I have been working with my team? So these are all field effect transistor based. That means a charge sensitive devices. Ion sensitive devices, SPETs. This is extended gate. So these are popularly known as. They are available in the market also in different configurations. I've been working in this silicon nanowires for almost 15 years or so. So these are very, very sensitive devices. So wires are there, electrodes, and they can be used for various detection. High electron mobility transistors are also being used in our lab, and we have detected some breast cancer markers also using this type of devices with specific modifications. Similarly, CNT-based devices are also used for this type of detections. This is another class of devices or platform devices which we have realized. So this is a lab on a chip for particle separation and counter. So in this particular design, what we have done, see, our blood has RBC, WBC, and plasma mainly. So what we do, we put a blood and some diluent here, and the blood keeps moving in the microfluidic channel. And WBC is filtered because of the particle size. The WBC filters here, and then rest of the blood is moving, and RBC captures here, and the plasma comes here. And depending on how much it is filled, we can have a counter also. So this type of devices have been made in our lab also. These are the micro viscometers, the viscosity of liquid in just a droplet of a drop of a liquid. The viscosity can be measured, and this is also useful for biomedical application. Similarly, there are fluid fats or electrochemical devices with different electrodes are there, and they are being used for anthropometric application, or this is a FET devices where the ions are flowing and gate is being used to control the flow of ion from one chamber to another chamber very precisely. These are some other devices like gas sensors. So gas sensor, as we know, is very important. So this is chip-based, low cost. This is Raman spectroscopy based, which can detect a single molecule and enhances the signature by 1 million to 1 billion times of the Raman signature. This is ultrasonic transducer, and this is a chip. And if a specific molecule comes, the frequency changes and can be used for detection purpose. And this is a pressure sensor. So pressure sensor also being used for a lot of different applications. Few more slides in slightly detail, but I'll quickly go through this one. So gas sensors, as we know, they are very, very useful for environmental care. We all know this aspect. Healthcare also, as we know, if we have a problem in our body, our breath has some typical smells. So these smell, if you can measure, these could be signature for many, many diseases. Like for kidney functions, ammonia comes in our breath. For diabetic patients, acetone comes in the breath. So by just monitoring the breath, one can know what could be a problem. And this was the part of the Ayurveda also. So this is how we are making this small chip, package it, and then this is electronics. And typically these are the chemi-resistors. So gas comes, the resistance decreases or increases depending on the oxidizing or reducing gas. And as a function of temperature, their response is maximum, or so in this case, if you see, the maximum response is coming at 220 degrees centigrade. So the absorption of the gas molecule on the surface is very, very different at different temperatures. So absorption, desorption, stability, and response is different. So based on these different curves, the same material can be used for detecting many gases. And using AI, these different patterns can distinguish multiple gases in the environment. So that's the beauty of AI now for using simple. So we can leave these curves. These are some for different gases we've done. And these are some different gadgets, handheld systems, which are IoT compatible and can be used for many, many applications. This is a SFET device and very, very sensitive, and sensitivity here is see like 50 millivolts for pH change. So here to here, if you see, this is a 300 millivolts change, and this pH is 4 and this is 10. So 6 pH change for 300 millivolts. So these type of devices are very, very sensitive, and a pH change of 0.01 can be recorded using this type of gadgets. And this is another version where the gate is extended gate, and these are some of the characteristics. These are nanowire devices. The beauty here is we can do multiplex detection. That means different colors of means they can capture different kind of molecules in a single sample. So red will attach to red and blue will attach to blue. And if you can record this signal simultaneously, you can analyze a sample for many, many diseases in one go. So these are typical images of the actual devices my lab has made. And this shows the importance of binding the charge. So this is a cross section. See, charge is floating. It will affect the current through this channel. But if you can bind it on the surface, the effect is very high. Typically, if you can see here, this is for the H ions. So more acidic means more H ions. So this is before surface modification, the pink one. So there is no surface modification, the charge is floating. So there is a change. So this is a change in the conductance of this conductor here. So more charge, more change. But if you can bind the same concentration here, so you can see this 10 or 12% goes to something like 35%. So we have to bind this charge. So this surface modification plays an important role. Similarly, this experiment we did for the DNAs, and when we hybridize the DNA, this strand from the first base pair onwards, so the effect or change is maximum. And I keep moving 2 nanometers away. That is one base pair away from the sensor. This is how this is by the design, and I could see there is a drop in the response. So chemistry plays an important role. The binders or the attaching, the linking molecules are important. And similarly, this is one of the examples. I just skipped. For different kind of molecules, these type of sensors can be used for detection in very, very low concentration. Similarly, for the cells also, I'm not able to play. So what we have put the live cells on these sensors, and if you put a drug, how these cells respond to the drug, because of the ion channels opening and closing, you can see these patterns coming up. And this helps in understanding the response of cell to the drug. So these are very, very important for the drug discovery, also this type of devices. This is another kind of cells we have done, is bioelectricity measurement. And this is from the organ. So this is a ECG signal recorded from the live heart of the mice, 3-day-old mice. Sorry. So this is from the surface. So ECG is coming. But if you put a micro electrode on it, so this is the ECG. So surface has some small charges, and that can be used for detection for many, many conditions of the system. And this example shows how system can be developed using these micro nanotechnologies on a single chip. So here is a sensor here, the nanowire sensor. Here we are putting in group blood, and there is a separation happening for unwanted material. Only the plasma after the filtration goes from here to this one. And this total processing happens in something 40-45 minutes. So this is the entire gadget we made in our lab. And this is called sample to answer type of thing for cardiac biomarker detection in some 45 minutes. So this is the way to detect very quickly low concentration of a marker from a sample. This one I told, see, Raman spectroscopy is a good technique for detection of chemicals, chemical molecules. But if their concentration goes very low, they cannot be detected because the output signal is too low. So SERS is a technique where you have a nano gap, like a small gap. These gaps are in the range of 25-30 nanometers. They have some noble metal coating, they are sharp edges. And if you put a molecule in this gap here, the output of this area for that molecule will be enhanced 1 million to 1 billion times. And that can be detected. So that was the beauty of this concept using surface enhanced Raman spectroscopy. But how to put a molecule here? So we realized different kind of substrates where there are large number of these small SERS active gaps. And if you put a sample here, one of the gaps is having a molecule, only one molecule or two molecules. And if you shine the light of the laser light or the Raman, it covers a large number of gaps. And if one of that area is having a molecule, it can be detected. So that's how we have detected very, very low concentration of molecule. And same concept we have used for breast cancer detection also from the samples. I'll not go in detail. If somebody is interested, we can discuss this later on. These are some of the examples. Microfluidic viscometer is on a blood thinning medicine. And if such people are going for urgent surgery, if they are going on an urgent surgery, there is a problem. They may have a big loss of blood. So their viscosity is very, very important to be recorded and instantaneously. So this is a gadget for that type of purpose. And these are some microelectrodes, and we have used these for a lot of different amperometric analysis. This device I already mentioned, and I think it works. So you can see the separation of the cells in different channels. They are moving on, and this is how the RBC collects in one portion and WBC collects in another portion, and the plasma goes to the last portion, and we can separate out all three, and very quickly the content, the quantity can be known and can be used for further diagnostic. I think I have taken a lot of time, and I would like to conclude with innovative ideas. Healthcare and environmental care sector offers a huge opportunities and challenges for we all scientists, students. To realize innovative point of care or early diagnostic solution, various engineering sciences have a role to play. Like we have discussed, sensor design realization might requires micro and nanotechnology interventions. Electronic circuits are required, or signal processing is required further. Data analytics, algorithms, AI, they are also playing a key role in the analysis of the data from the sensors. And some of the conclusions we were not able to do earlier, now it is possible because of AI only. And anyway, instrumentation is very, very important to put an entire thing into a small, portable, handful gadget. And while selecting a platform device, we have to see what kind of marker we are looking for, what are their properties, and how it can be detected, and what concentration we are interested in. If we are not interested in very low concentration, then don't go for very, very sensitive device. Otherwise, it becomes difficult to detect. There's a lot of noise coming because of that. So we have to choose a proper platform device depending on the marker, detection mechanism, and the concentration of the analyte we are interested in. That's all from my side. So this is a link where my all papers are available, and you can see from there or download from there also. Most of them are available there. So thank you very much, and I acknowledge the support and the work done by my colleagues and students at Siri Filani and IME Singapore. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Dear participant, any question relevant to the session? Dear participant, is there any question? Okay, sir. So a few questions, I got it. Okay. So one of the participant asked, what are the different parameters to select biosensor material?
See, the sensor material depends on the property of the analyte. Okay. See, like if we are looking for a gas sensor, the sensitivity of different gases for different material is different. So we have to see which material is sensitive to which gases. Okay. One way is go for the literature. Okay. The literature has some hints, and then do the testing.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you. So, am I audible?
Yes, continue.
Yes, actually, sir, video is stuck.
Yeah. There
Yeah,
was.
okay.
So it depends on the physical properties of the
Mm-hmm.
molecule, physical chemical properties, and so a lot of important role being played by the chemist and biologist here in selecting the material or material scientist, and we have to integrate all these knowledge together to realize a sensor.
Okay, sir. So, next question is from my side.
Yeah,
I just
please.
wanted to know if for the self-testing, you said many devices is available, but I just wanted to ask, is there any possibility for the self-testing for COVID-19 except temperature measurement or pulse oximeter? I just wanted to know, is
Uh,
there any?
yes, one device has come from one of the CSIR institute,
Mm-hmm.
and now this is being commercialized by Tata Sons, and
Okay.
this is this device is called Feluda.
Okay.
So it is commercially available to
Mm-hmm.
detect COVID, and it gives a instant solution, instant answer. And many
Okay.
other techniques are under testing. So I would not say that these are available, but there are
Mm-hmm.
many things. In fact, our team has also done from the saliva.
Okay.
From our saliva, we can put it
Mm-hmm.
on a chip and test it. You'll get an answer, but it is not tested clinically to that extent that I can say it's a available solution. But
Okay.
Feluda
But it's
technique is
not commercialized. It
it's
means
not
it's under
commercialized.
process.
Yes.
Okay, okay. So one last question from my side. Actually, I'm a biomedical engineer, so I work upon
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
So actually, sir, I just wanted to know, is there any possibilities all the pathological tests, can we design a non-invasive devices like I tried once upon a time for the thyroid? Because we have a like invasive test, so I was trying a non-invasive device we can design. I read lots of papers, somebody designed also, but I never seen commercialization of that. So I just wanted to know what are the criteria for that, so we can find out.
It is a bit difficult question, but
Yeah.
see, optimum answer is yes. Why not? See,
Okay.
many tests we do. Say like blood sugar testing.
Mm-hmm.
Blood sugar testing is the golden standard is take the blood and test it
Mm-hmm.
for the glucose.
Yeah.
But indirectly, when the blood glucose increases,
Mm-hmm.
the glucose in the saliva also increases.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if you test saliva, you will find, so you need not prick.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
we did that test, but final product again could not come to the market because of
Okay.
some issues there. There are
Mm-hmm.
some variations, but it
Mm-hmm.
has some interesting output. Similarly,
Okay.
the higher measurement of your skin or the arteries,
Mm-hmm.
that gives some information about the sugar content in the blood. So it's a non-invasive
Okay.
way.
Yeah, yeah,
Similarly,
sir.
I'll say
Mm-hmm.
that for many of these conditions, like you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned of the thyroid or some other issue, problem,
Mm-hmm.
there
Mm-hmm.
may be some other signatures pertaining to that which are non-invasive. So we
Yeah.
have to look for some correlations,
Mm-hmm.
correlated symptoms, and probably there is a solution. So
Okay.
if there is a burning problem, there is a
Mm-hmm.
solution somewhere, and that is what
Okay.
we have to find out. What kind
Yeah.
of correlation we can establish
Mm-hmm.
in a non-invasive way.
Okay. So means the work is going on for this conversion of the pathological testing to the non-invasive devices.
Yes, yes, yes. At
Okay.
least
Okay.
for home routine testing, for
Mm-hmm.
screening purpose, it should be okay. And if
Mm-hmm.
there is a doubt or there is suspect, then go for a testing.
Okay.
So where there is a routine testing required, or
Mm-hmm.
just a screening going to the village, do 100
Mm-hmm.
people, and only 2 or 3 has to go to the clinic for the final testing. So
Okay.
screening purpose and routine testing,
Mm-hmm.
non-invasive is
Okay.
good, and one should try
Okay.
alternative
Yes, sir.
ways.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Dear participants, is there any question? Yeah, anybody can respond. Is there any question?
Yes, yes, Pushpa, I am asking one question.
Yes, sir.
Sir, because the biosensor output is very less, so my question is that how to calculate the response time of biosensor?
Response time of biosensor for what biosensor? Which biosensor specifically?
Any biosensor, because its output is in millivolt signal, right? So
Ah, okay. So see, it doesn't matter. See, milli or micro or nanovolt can be put to a meaningful signature. So that is what the amplification circuit has to be there in the gadget, and these are specific for the need. And these are being done today using very good electronic circuits. There are limitations. There are some limitations, but micro ampere or microvolt changes can be done very easily. Even nano volts or nano ampere type of changes can be recorded using these small gadgets. So our circuit people can do that.
okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, it's possible today.
Yeah, one more question I got it. How the nanotechnology will be useful in healthcare care monitoring in future?
It is being used today also. See, healthcare, when we say we are looking for early diagnostics.
Okay.
I give an example. Say, heart attack comes, and before heart attack, there is a pain in the chest. So, pain in the chest is a common thing. And many times we say, okay, it might be because of some gastric problem. You might have taken something oily, it is coming because of that, or some muscular thing might have happened, or really it is a heart problem. So that's the early signature. There is a pain. From pain to heart attack, it may take 2, 4, or 6 hours. So when there is a pain, can you detect it is a starting of a heart problem? A heart attack is coming in 2 hours or 4 hours. So one system on chip, what I showed, we designed for this purpose only. We were given a challenge to detect from the blood sample a patient's condition. When there is a pain, take a blood sample, put it there, and immediately within 1 hour, tell us if a person is going to have an attack in 1 hour or 2 hours after that. So if you can detect early, this is because of the highly sensitive device there, which is because of nanotechnology.
Okay.
And if you can detect, you give a medicine and you can avoid heart attack. So that's why early diagnosis is many times important for these fatal diseases, which is possible because of these nanotechnologies. This is just one example. It is being used for many applications.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, sir. On the last question I'm having,
Sure.
Sir, for the earthquake monitoring, we have some devices, but it cannot predict that earthquake before some time. Like many devices are seen that 3 minutes and 10 minutes before. So in that particular duration, we are not able to take any precautionary act. So is there any possibility which can predict the earthquake is possible or not? It's some kind of machine or sensor is developed which can detect this thing.
Very interesting thing. See, earthquake means there are some vibrations coming.
Yes, sir.
And whenever earthquake comes, we feel some vibrations.
Yeah.
But if it is a very mild one, we may not feel.
Yes, sir.
In earthquake-prone areas, there are hundreds and thousands of earthquakes coming every year. But people do not respond much because they are so mild. So what we have to record these small vibrations using some sensors, and these vibrations are recording using accelerometers.
Yeah, okay.
And if you can make these accelerometers sensitive enough, embed inside the land, soil. So they are originating from the underground.
Okay.
So if they are embedded inside, probably they can give you some signatures beforehand.
Okay.
If
So it means the sensitivity is the parameter for
sensitivity is the parameter.
Okay.
And that can give you a lower intensity earthquakes
Mhm.
also if coming at some frequency means
Okay.
something more can happen later
Mhm.
on. So
Okay.
those things are being recorded, and it is
Mhm.
really a big problem, and a
Mhm.
lot of scientists working in this area. But this
Okay.
is one of the ways people are exploring.
Mhm.
See, very sensitive buildings, they put
Mhm.
these sensors around that in the fence.
Mhm.
If
Mhm.
somebody is moving around, there will
Mhm.
be some small vibration, and that get
Yes, sir.
detected.
Yes, sir.
So that is how these sensors are being used for many,
Mhm.
many applications. But yes, this is a
Mhm.
big and burning problem, that how early, how much early we can do it so that
Mhm.
it can be useful.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Thank you.
Lastly, participant, is there any question? Okay, fine. So thank you very much, sir. I would like to thank behalf of the Amity University Rajasthan for your valuable time and your knowledgeable session. Thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you.